Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY, sponsored by Independent Bank. Katy, Huckle here, and the last time that we interviewed Kelly Smith on the air, it was on the phone.
Oh, boy.
And I know Kelly was miserable at that time because we couldn't see each other. We couldn't hug. We couldn't do anything. So I'm very glad we've got the outgoing president of Cadillac, Baker College of Cadillac, with us this morning.
Absolutely welcome, Kelly.
Thank you very much.
There's so much energy around Kelly Smith. So you want to be in the same room with her, Rich. I hear
It's
you.
not the same magic over the phone.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, congratulations. You've
Thank you.
announced your retirement.
I did.
How many years in education?
40.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Did it
And I'm only 29.
Did you plan for it to be an even number like that, or is that just how it worked out?
It's just how it worked out.
Okay.
As I said before, it's like you just wake up that one morning and go, I think it's time.
Okay. I was going to ask you
Yeah.
what prompted,
Yeah.
and so you just knew.
Yeah, and a couple of things, happened with folks that I had as mentors who perhaps retired and then didn't get a long time to enjoy that retirement before, illnesses or death set in. So I wanted to make sure I went out when I still had energy to run after my grandbabies.
Oh, I love it. How many grandbabies?
3.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
You built the campus. It's okay to say that. It's true. You built partnerships with nonprofits, Dan Smith and many others. What are you proudest of?
I think I'm very proud of the team that we've always had at Baker College. As a leader, you never accomplish that by yourself. Yeah. And so I've always had really great people to work with at Baker. And together, I think the number one thing I'm most proud of today is being able to create the campus housing, because I think that has made the difference between us staying in Cadillac and not being able to keep a presence here, certainly. And we didn't know that when we built it, we were planning for the future because we were working with a lot of dual enrolled students, and that was what we were under the ideas of putting that together. But I think that's helped us stay here. Certainly the work with the Y and Dan Smith, and not just what I just helped facilitate it, Dan and I did, but I'm so thankful for Baker leadership. And they wrote off $700,000 after giving, 1.2 or something initially for the building. But that's a building that belongs to the community. It does not belong to Baker College. It does not belong to the Y, if you will. It belongs to the people of Cadillac. And I'm very proud of that. Every time I walk in there, I'm thankful for what that brings to our community, what it gives to our young people, and all ages. They have a large senior fit group.
It's wonderful.
So I'm proud of those accomplishments, I think, the most. But again, I didn't do that alone. I did it with great number of team members and community partnerships.
Right.
You've built relationships with other nonprofits because there are several who are taking up residence inside the Baker College building.
Yes.
So what are the other ones?
Well, we have Cadillac Innovation there, which has been a really good environment for them. It took a couple of years to kind of get it settled. That first year I heard a lot, at the old Cooley.
There's always going to be that.
It's
that period.
But many of the teachers there now, and certainly the students, don't even know what Cooley was. And so they have a really nice environment for learning. And there's research that says that, when you have a nice setting, you have a bathroom that doesn't have graffiti on it, has the doors on it, it's kind of that broken windows thing, then you behave differently. It brings that expectation for your behavior up. And they're a pretty fine running machine right now. They got good leadership, they have good teachers, and the students, I think, are getting some great education there.
Rich, I have a great Kelly Smith story, and I feel lucky that I got to her right before retirement on this. I was contacted by someone from our kids' grade. Your oldest, my youngest, I think. And it was, could you mentor me a little, Katy? And basically what it was a 4-year degree at a college out of town is not for me. And I am spending all of my time and money coming home from college to be with my family. I like to spend time with my mom and dad. I really like Cadillac. And the message from this girl was, how do I build a life in Cadillac and make enough money to do the things that I love to do, and to thrive here?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need a traditional 4-year degree? And my answer was no, but I know a lady. And she said, can I fast track, if you will, at Baker? Meaning, I don't want to drop out of college. I know I need a degree. Can you help me? And so I shot Kelly a message, and next thing I know, we were at Raven for a 2-hour lunch, helping this young woman chart her course. And just gives me goosebumps at the advice that I had for her, the advice that Kelly had for her. And when she left that lunch, she had wind in her sails, and she's like, I'm going to go do it. And I said, I think it's smart, meaning I don't need to leave college with $100,000 in student loan debt and racked up credit cards. There's got to be a better way to do this. And Kelly helped her.
Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you for that.
And my hat's off to that young lady for having the courage to come to you and ask you that,
That's
because
right.
there are a lot of young men and young women out there who want that kind of advice but don't know where to go or how to ask for it.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to talk tomorrow to the McBain Juniors, and one of the things that I told Don Sheppers was that I was going to talk about Baker College really does, in all the communities in which we serve, many times, not for 100%, but many times we are educating those adults and students who want to stay and work and live and raise their families right in this community. And that's what we want. We love to see kids go out of town and get degrees, but then perhaps they don't come back to raise their families. And we need them to come back and to add to the community in which is growing and fabulous things are happening in Cadillac. So we want them to be here or come back here. So...
And it's not a one-size-fits-all situation either. There are some kids who, as soon as they graduate, they want to get out of town. They want to spread their wings. They want to fly a little bit. Some of them come back to Cadillac and discover that it wasn't all, being out of town wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And then there are others who, stay, and then there are others who don't come back. But it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
For sure.
It really isn't.
And I think that's the same with colleges. I always say to kids, I had 3 daughters, and they all went to 3 different universities. And the last one came to Baker, and they all went where they should have go.
Okay.
And the one that went to Baker would have never survived at U of M or Michigan State.
Okay.
And so I think it's important for kids to visit and to not just go where their friends go.
Right.
They have to feel like they fit into the culture and environment that is the college they're going to.
Right. Can we go back into the life of Kelly Smith and when you knew you're talking about the right fit here. How did you know? Where did you start? Tell us about your journey.
Well, I grew up in a poor farming community. And our family was not rich. I didn't realize we weren't rich. We always had shoes in September to go to school. But I will say this. My parents were both high school graduates, but we never talked about college, but there was this sense that we would all go to college.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't talk about it. And so initially, I was going to join the Marines with a friend because I was that rebel. And thank goodness I didn't do that, because I don't know how that would have turned out.
But
However,
you still are that rebel.
I still am the rebel, yeah.
You don't want to tangle with her, Rich.
Yeah, right.
I could have used some moves from that. But what happened is then she and I did go up to Marquette at Northern Michigan for 1 year, and I was in corrections. You guys may know, but many of the younger listeners wouldn't, that Christy Love was a cop on TV, and I was going to be her.
Oh, my.
And I studied corrections, and I sort of went into corrections. I was high school principal.
Same thing.
And but anyways, I'd gone up there, and I may have followed that path, but it was so far away at a time when there weren't cell phones and things like that, that I stopped after a year, came back home, worked for a couple years, got married, and said, ooh, got a different job, but thought, I don't want to do this all my life. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky enough to be able to go to school, work full time. And I worked at a school district then in Durand and did their payroll and bus dispatching, which that's a
No
whole book,
kidding?
a whole book in my a whole chapter in my book. Yes, and I did that for I don't know, 8 years probably. While I got my elementary teacher certificate, so I would work 7 to 3, not take a lunch, go to Saginaw Valley. That was an hour drive for me. Take 2 classes, leave there at 10 o'clock, and do the hour drive home. And I had little ones. I had babies while I was going to college and working. And I look back now and say, how did I do that? I don't know. I just put one foot in front of the other, but I've never regretted one moment.
Okay.
Because it's opened doors for me.
Right.
So when I got my teaching degree, then I did go to Durand as a teacher, and that's where I did my teaching in elementary. I have an elementary certification. And about 5 years of that, I then moved to Corunna, where I was an elementary principal for 4 and then a high school principal for 6 before I came up here to take the helm at Baker College in Cadillac. And so every one of those steps was a stepping stone to the next thing. And every step added more money.
Right.
And so, I've always been a believer that if one door closes, another opens. Every situation that we're in can have grief and positivity. And I focus a lot on what was the positive that came out of here. Because we all have our junk and our baggage, and I carry mine around. But I try to look back on, thank goodness that happened, because then this was able to happen.
You were at age 18. Obviously, it sounds like to me you pivoted several times. Your path diverted here and there and everywhere. And I mean, we're in graduation season right now for high school. And so there's a lot of kids right now who have grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles and moms and dads saying, well, you're about to graduate. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Yes.
That is a hard question for kids to have at this time.
Yes.
And you're saying it's okay to not have it figured out yet.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
And she's retiring.
Exactly.
But you've had, we were talking before we started the show, you've had some offers. Isn't it flattering that you've been in the game for this long and people recognize and value your expertise?
Yeah, it is. It does feel good to have people reach out and say, hey, would you like to come back to this kind of work, or would you do this? It is flattering. I get like we had Rise Up, and, they had to say all these nice things. I hate that. Because I know that Kelly Smith did not do any of those things alone. I've always tried to surround myself with people who had strengths in areas I don't have. So we just became an incredibly great team. And that synergy, you can't beat that. There is no individual feeling in that.
Right.
It's part of something bigger than self.
Your team. It's
Yes.
going to be really hard to leave your team,
Yes.
isn't it? Can you tell me about your replacement and what that looks like?
Yeah. Dr. Randy Hill has worked with me for 8 years, maybe. He came in as a dean, and then he took over as our vice president of academics, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I tease him. I've imparted all of my wisdom I can. Poor Randy. And but Randy's a great guy, and he'll do a fabulous job. He cares about people. He cares about community. He has 3 children going through the school system, and so he's a person that's very rooted here in Cadillac, and I feel that way too. Both of us, we're not born here, but this is our community.
It's become your town.
It's my town.
So the question from your perspective, what is the biggest challenge he faces?
I think I'm leaving him probably not at a great time.
Okay.
Just because of the demographics, the declining enrollment. You've seen that. Rich and I were talking about Central. They're not the only ones. All of us are feeling that declining enrollment for a number of reasons. We had a lot of people leave our state in 2008. Not all of them have returned. Now there's a question about the value of a college education. And so there's just a lot of things going on that affect education and certainly higher education. So that's going to be tough, not only for him, but for all leaders of higher institutions. And who knows? It's secular. I think that's the right
Cyclical,
word.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. To come back around another time. But for right now, that's going to be tough.
Okay.
And so I feel a little bit bad about it, but he's up for the challenge.
I'm just tickled because I mentioned other job offers to you. Can you tell us about your next endeavor?
You mean the one I accepted?
Yes, right.
So, I have accepted from the chamber here in Cadillac to lead their leadership program. Deb Gillis did that for a number of years, so beloved.
Yes.
And then Kate DeCam has done it the last 3 or 4. And I give Kate so much credit because she did it via Zoom for 2 years.
Oh, boy.
So I'm really excited. We met today. Just some synergy between all of us and some ideas. As I told you, we could have a full-time job because we're talking about expanding beyond just that leadership program. But how do we reach younger people who need leadership? How do we reach nonprofit boards who need volunteers and have those folks know, our community to know, how do I get on a board of something I'm interested? And then what's my role on that board?
Right.
And I think that's for any board, even governmental, school boards. Sometimes people get on boards for the wrong reasons.
100%.
And when you're on a board, you are serving the constituents. And that means all of them, not one side or another on a topic, but all of them. Yeah. And I think that some of that has gone awry in our country right now because we have a very polarized them and us.
It is.
And I look forward to the time when we're closer to united.
Right. So, Kelly, for our listeners that aren't familiar with the Cadillac Leadership Program, can you tell them what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went through it when I first got here in 2010. I think I was in the next group, probably 2011. And it's a year-long program where couple of things. You get to know your community. And that was really something that was good for me as a new member of this community. I got to see where manufacturing, I got to see how the government works here. I got to see how police and corrections work. So there's a day dedicated to some of those. In the past, for about over 20 years, they've done a large project where they did something for the community. They've raised over $1 million. The group has grown a little weary with that, and so we're going to pause for next year on that, and we're going to move to some service leadership.
Great.
And talk about, instead of going out and getting money for a project, how do I give self to this project? How do I bring my children along to serve, in helping with the food truck or a Rotary event or cleaning up the cemetery, something like that? Because I think it's important that all of our kids and our folks know that so many of these things don't happen without people like us who are just interested in helping our community to give the gift of our time.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That was a great description.
Yeah.
You're going to be a wonderful connector for your class.
Thank you.
Would you tell her no?
I would not. No.
I can be pretty persuasive.
And I think it's a great idea to turn the group in that direction because you're teaching. I don't think that the younger generation is as convinced how important civic duty is.
Yes.
That needs to be taught.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that idea that I can care beyond myself.
Right.
That's important in our world today. I mean, I want my grandchildren. I've had a little bit of opportunity now that Randy's doing his thing. I'm trying to stay out of his way. I've been able to drop my grandkids off at school in the morning. The drop and kiss line, I always tell him. And he's going to be 11, so he's like, "Oh, Grandma, please don't kiss me in front of people." But I always say when he gets out of the car, be kind today. If you can't be anything else, be kind.
Oh, that is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in my purse. I'm gonna use that one, Rich.
Yeah, and in this day and age, I think kids aren't as nice as they used to be.
No.
that is a great message to send along.
Well, I'm not sure that we as adults are modeling kindness to our younger groups. Yeah.
Wow. So can we know, because they say the secret to retirement, which you're technically not even retiring because now you're taking on the chamber leadership class, but what does Kelly do when she's not working? What other things? You mentioned your grandchildren.
Yes, I love that. And I can't raise them, so I've told my children because they're a lot of energy. I love to work outside. I'm going to go home tonight. I right now, because I sold my house up here, I have a 1-bedroom with one daughter up here and a bedroom downstate with another daughter. But I'm going to mow her lawn. I like to work in flowers.
Okay.
Don't ask me to clean the house. I don't want to do that. Or I don't. Katie's a great cook. I don't cook either.
I love it.
But I can't stay just idle. And so I find myself doing things. Well, I enjoy the casino too. So I do that on occasion to get my mind off the world.
I love it. Good.
That's why we call it unscripted.
I know. So, but I try to keep busy. So I know that I'm going to need things to do.
Okay.
Because even when I was in Florida for 6 weeks, it's hard for me to lay it. I love the beach.
I can tell.
I love the beach.
She's a bronze goddess.
Yes.
Rich.
However, I can do it about 2 hours. And I went with my sister for a month this last year, and she can lay there all day. I left her 3 times and said, I'll come back for you. But then I find myself twiddling my thumbs when I get home of, okay, what am I going to do now?
Right.
And I do not want to take over as leading our condo association because that does not look like a fun job.
But okay, so there's some time in Florida that's on the docket.
Yep.
There's running, Cadillac leadership, and then I just have a feeling that other boards of directors, are going to get wind of this, that she's got a little time. If someone wanted you to come in an advisory capacity to meet with their board, to meet with their staff, to meet with their school system, is that something you take a look at?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would, I've spent my whole career mentoring.
Yes.
As a principal, I, certainly mentored children, but from a high school principal perspective, there was mentoring of young teachers. There was mentoring of staff that now I'm very proud. They're superintendents and assistant superintendents. And I hope that I had a piece of what their character has created in that position. So I love that. I love mentoring. And so, I'd be very interested in working with boards about, setting strategic goals or board development. Those are things that are in my mind that I'd like to do.
Mm-hmm. I have to say you're leaving a legacy, and you're a humble person, so you wouldn't think of it that way, but it is so. The energy in a room changes when you walk in, and I think having been in meetings with you, committees, whatever, I think the expectation that Kelly Smith sets is we are all well-intended, and let's have everybody give their best today. Yes. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is very fair. Because, if we don't think about whatever it is, the work we're set there to do in a positive way, it can deteriorate really fast and we really don't accomplish anything. And that's why it's really hard for me to watch sometimes what's happening beyond us, where we can't seem to work together no matter what. And I think that's very wrong, and it's moving us in a wrong direction because we are one. We are one, and we will be stronger as one always.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I love having a conversation with you, Kelly, all the time, and I'm glad to know that the community isn't losing you.
Yay!
Well, and I love this community. This is my community. I said that the other day at Rise Up. I know I wasn't born here. I haven't lived here 100 years, but I feel like I have because I'm very invested and willing always to give my energy and time and talent to things that we need to accomplish.
Some of, and I'm being a little cryptic, so I won't say what it was, but one of the job offers that you got had to have been the ultimate compliment, meaning wherever Kelly's been, she leaves a mark.
Yeah.
And they want more.
Yeah.
They want more Kelly.
Well, it was. I think some of them, that is true. And like I said to you prior to the show, it's like, thank goodness I got a wake-up call before I said yes.
That's right. Yeah. You're not winding up. You're winding down.
Yes,
We're like, you're right here, and we want to hold on.
And I'm very excited about the leadership program and the energy that I can bring to that.
Absolutely.
And what I might be able to do to continue to do with the team at the chamber to enhance the leadership capacity here in our community.
Absolutely. Like I said, you'll be a powerful recruiter because it's very hard to say no to Kelly Smith. It just is. I'm stating the obvious.
So you have been mentoring Dr. Hill for a long time. I know he's probably doing a lot of your work at this point
right now. Yeah.
Your official retirement date is what?
May 31st.
End of this month.
Oh boy.
May 31st.
Okay.
Oh boy. Well, just hats off and thank you for your service to Cadillac. We are very appreciative, and it's just been wonderful watching you succeed and make us better, Kelly.
Oh, well, thank you. And I've so always enjoyed my interaction in this room.
Good.
Rich and I have had lots of on the radio talks that just seemed like we were just yakking with one another.
That is exactly what a conversation is like. It's a conversation between friends. I always tell everybody, don't be nervous. Ignore the microphones. We're just having a conversation. And speaking of which, when the time comes and the leadership program has some news to share with us, come on back.
I will. And I think that Caitlin's going to put something out too in the paper, so that'll help. But the word's out.
Good.
And so I've had some calls about, folks coming to that, and I've also had a lot of suggestions from people.
Oh boy. Okay.
And so
good.
that's been good too.
Good. She's open-minded, so she'll listen too.
So the retiring president of Baker College, soon to be the new leader of the Cadillac leadership class, Kelly Smith, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations.
Right. More next week, same time, same station on Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY.